There's a new electric coupe on the scene with nearly 1,000 horsepower, wild, futuristic tech, and zero respect for tradition. No flat six, no rear engine, no decades of racing pedigree. Just raw speed, radical design, and the confidence to challenge a new legend. It's not from Germany, and it's not what anyone expected. It's called the Denza Z. Is this the EV that finally shakes the 911? Let's find out. Let's be honest, nobody saw this coming. The Denza Z is a 4-seat electric coupe from Denza, a Chinese brand backed by automotive heavyweight BYD. And while most EV startups focus on SUVs or techie sedans, Denza took a sharp turn and built something aimed directly at Porsche's turf. This isn't a budget Tesla clone. This is a sleek, low-slung Grand Tourer with nearly 1,000 horsepower on tap. Wild design language and technology that sounds like it came from a concept sketch that wasn't supposed to be real. First off, it ditches the traditional steering column for a steer-by-wire setup, meaning there's no physical connection between your hands and the front wheels. Add to that a folding steering wheel for easy access and more cabin space, and you're officially in sci-fi territory. The suspension uses magnetor heliological dampers, fancy words that mean it adjusts ride stiffness in real time within milliseconds, based on how you're driving. And the performance? Denza hasn't dropped exact 0 to 60 times, but if it shares a drivetrain with its sibling, the Z9 GT, you're looking at up to 952 horsepower. That's not just quick, that's make a Turbo S sweat quick. Design-wise, it's a total showstopper. Aggressive stance, cab-forward proportions, flared arches, and a rear end that looks ready to blast off. It's not subtle, and it's not trying to be. And here's the kicker, it's not some far-off concept. This thing is headed for production soon. So the question isn't, is it real? The question is the 911 ready for this? Think this thing has what it takes to rattle the 911? Drop a yes or no in the comments, and hit like if you're even slightly intrigued. Coming up next, does the Denza Z actually belong in the same league? Or is this just high-voltage hype? At first glance, comparing the Denza Z to a Porsche 911 feels like automotive blasphemy. One is an icon with 60 years of racing pedigree. The other, a bold newcomer from a brand most car fans couldn't pronounce last year. But let's remove emotion and look at the scoreboard. The Porsche 911 Carrera S starts around $130,000. Add a few options, sport exhaust, adaptive suspension, leather you can actually touch, and you're flirting with $180K. And for that, you get 443 horsepower, a legendary flat six, and arguably the best chassis in the game. Now let's stack up the Denza Z. If it shares powertrains with Denza's Z9 GT, we're talking about a 4-door family coupe making up to 952 horsepower. So with 2 fewer doors and a more aerodynamic shape, the Z could match or beat any Carrera on paper, all while likely landing well under the 911's price point. That's the part Porsche fans hate to hear, but need to. For the first time in decades, a rival isn't just competing, it's undercutting them. Still, raw numbers aren't everything. The 911 isn't famous because it won drag races. It's famous because it delivers precision, balance, and driving feel at the absolute limit. It's a car that wins your respect after every corner, not just every spec. The Denza Z is fast, no doubt, but can it match the 911 where it counts? In feedback, control, and emotional payoff? That's the million-dollar question. Next up, where Denza gets it surprisingly right, and where it might fall painfully short. Let's start with the good news for Denza. They're not playing it safe. The Z is aggressive, futuristic, and packed with features that make even German engineers raise an eyebrow. The steer-by-wire system, it eliminates mechanical linkages and allows full customization of steering feel. In theory, it can make city driving buttery smooth and backroad driving razor sharp. That's impressive on paper. Then there's the adaptive suspension, with magnetor-heliological dampers that respond in milliseconds. This isn't a gimmick tech. It's used in Ferraris and top-tier performance cars for a reason. Inside, the Denza Z looks every bit like the future. Minimalist design, bold screens, and a folding steering wheel that's either brilliant or bonkers, depending on who you ask. It's trying to be both a luxury lounge and a race machine. And that's ambitious. But ambition doesn't guarantee soul. Porsche's magic doesn't come from just numbers. It's in the tuning, the years of motorsport DNA, the hundreds of tiny details refined over decades, the weight of the gear shift, the way the chassis rotates under throttle, the feedback you feel mid-corner. That's the stuff no press release can replicate. And that's where Denza might fall short. Because no matter how powerful or tech-laden it is, if the Denza Z doesn't feel alive behind the wheel, it won't matter to enthusiasts, especially 911 owners who've grown used to a standard that's almost spiritual. Still, Denza's made a statement, and the spec sheet says it deserves to be taken seriously. Coming up next, the long game. Can this EV really age like a 911 legend? Speed fades. Tech gets outdated. But legacy? That's what keeps a car valuable 30 years after it leaves the showroom. And this is where the Porsche 911 plays in a league of its own. A 911 isn't just fast, it's timeless. Owners track them, daily them, even hand them down like family heirlooms. You'll find 911s with 200,000 miles, still pulling strong and still turning heads. There's an entire economy built around parts, forums, specialists, and collectors. This car isn't just supported, it's worshipped. So the real question for Denza isn't, can it beat the 911 today? It's, will anyone still care about it in 20 years? Can the Denza Z hold value? Will there be a passionate owner base? Restoration parts? People willing to spend real money to keep it alive once the screens stop updating and the warranty ends? Because EVs age differently. Batteries degrade, software becomes obsolete, and in a market obsessed with new, staying relevant for decades is a different kind of engineering challenge. To its credit, Denza isn't phoning this in. The Z looks serious, feels ambitious, and might genuinely surprise people. But Porsche isn't just defending a spec sheet, it's defending history. And unless Denza builds a community, a culture, and a long-term support system, the Z could go from Porsche killer to cars and coffee curiosity in 5 short years. Up next, we open the floor, because it's your turn to weigh in. Alright, it's time to hear from the people who matter most. You. Porsche fans, let's start with you. Is the 911 still untouchable? Or do you think something like the Denza Z, with its wild power and next-gen tech, actually deserves a seat at the table? Would you ever trade your flat 6 for 1,000 horses of silent, instant torque? Or does the soul of a sports car live in the noise, the imperfections, the tradition? And to any EV fans or Denza believers out there, what's your take? Is this finally the EV that stirs up passion? The one that pushes past eco mode and into real enthusiast territory? Or is it just a flashy toy that'll be forgotten in 5 years? We want real opinions, not just spec sheet debates, but emotional takes. What matters more, decades of proven history or a clean slate with bold ambition? Because here's the truth, this isn't about bashing either brand. It's about pushing the conversation forward. And the best car culture comes from community, not just loyalty. So drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's make this a garage-friendly debate, not a keyboard war zone. Whether you're clutching your 911 keys or eyeing the Denza with curiosity, your perspective matters here. And if you've got a Denza on your radar, let us know what convinced you. If you're holding the line for Porsche, tell us what the 911 still does better than anything else on the road. Coming up, the final verdict, and a reality check on what this rivalry really means. So what are we really looking at here? On one hand, the Denza Z is bold. It's fast, it's tech-heavy, and it's aiming squarely at a market dominated by a legend. That takes guts and a whole lot of confidence. But on the other hand, the Porsche 911 has earned its status, not with hype, but with consistency. Decades of engineering, motorsport, fan obsession, and refinement. It didn't get to the top by accident. It stayed there by constantly evolving without losing its soul. And that's where Denza has something to prove. Performance is only the start. The real test is longevity, character, support, driver connection. If the Z is just fast and flashy, it'll join a long list of one-hit wonders. But if it can deliver an experience that actually sticks with people, if it can be driven hard, lived with, and loved, it might just earn its place in the conversation. Still, let's not pretend the 911 is shaking in its Michelin pilots just yet. Porsche has seen rivals come and go for 60 years, and it's still here, faster and more desirable than ever. But maybe, just maybe, this is the kind of disruption Porsche needs to keep pushing forward, to keep innovating, to not rest on its laurels. And maybe Denza's challenge isn't disrespect, it's motivation. So is this a changing of the guard? Probably not yet. But is it the start of something worth watching? Absolutely. Now, let's wrap this up and give you something to click. So, Denza Z versus Porsche 911. Are we witnessing the first real electric threat to the 911's reign? Or is this just another flashy upstart that'll fade as fast as it launches? That's where you come in. If you're Team Porsche, tell us why the 911 still holds the crown. Is it the legacy, the engineering, or that unmistakable flat-six howl that EVs just can't replicate? If you're curious about the Denza Z or even rooting for it, what's pulling you in? The performance, the design, the chance to see something new, challenge something sacred? Drop your take in the comments. Be honest, be bold, just keep it fun. We're building a community here, not starting a flame war. And if you made it this far, you clearly care about cars that matter. So hit like to boost the conversation. Subscribe if you want more brutally honest matchups, underrated gems, and debates that actually respect both sides. Next up, we're tracking which modern 911s are set to double in value, and which EVs are already getting quietly dumped on the used market. Spoiler alert, depreciation is coming for some big names. Until then, drive what you love, challenge what you don't, and never be afraid to ask the tough question. Is it actually better or just louder? Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.